Casey, any good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good.
Oh, yeah? Then you had enough, right? Don't need me? Huh?
How good has he been in practice?
He's been good. What I thought today was the best thing he did was, we're putting a lot of new stuff in that they haven't done, and he threw a pick, and it didn't let him. It didn't bother him. That was a good thing. Knowing that, hey, we're trying to get a lot of reps, and we're trying to with new things, and we're moving on, and a lot of installs, and he's really worked hard, and all the quarterbacks have. So it's more my I got to be more patient, and I used to having a guy that was in the system for 3 years, and then all of a sudden it's all new. Even Casey's new, but I really like the way those guys are working. I like the way everybody's going about their business, and it's only the fifth day, and the only fifth day we've had tape. So those guys have really, the whole offense has gotten better and better as we've gone, and I'm more encouraged than I am discouraged.
Logan had mentioned that last year they didn't do a lot of five-step drops. Just what's it like trying to learn something new?
Yeah, it's just not many. It's just what I learned from the NFL. Just the things we did learn with, with Andy Reid and Philly and things that we've done that way. And it takes some time. It's like there's different drops. To me, the whole pass game's about footwork. So we're always talking about footwork. There's this one step, there's three step, there's three and a hitch, there's three plant, there's five, there's 1-4. So all those things. Then you got play action. So and you're trying to get it on tape, and I know that they're thinking a lot about it, but once they see it, say if you've got good rhythm with your feet, then you got a really good chance to be an accurate passer, and that's what we're working. And still, Chin's doing a great job, which is really nice to see a bunch of different coverages in that way and where to go to. And we haven't had time to go back. We're trying to put a bunch of stuff down, and I know the way these kids are, that they'll watch it over spring break, and then we've got one more day. We'll add some other stuff, and then just try to keep moving forward.
How often do you feel like you call pass plays that you could describe as easily as run plays, like pass plays that function as run plays?
Yeah, there's stuff that way. I'm getting better. We kept a lot of the same terminology. So the guys laugh at me because it just comes back what I called for the last 8 years. So the formations and those things. So, it's just, we'll have a scrimmage. We've had some 2-minute drills that way, so it just kind of flows off. But, I've had to work at it, I've had to do it before in different places that I've been and when I've changed jobs and systems. So I think we've all adapted pretty well to it.
How's the run game looking?
Good. No, I like Coach Donnie's been doing a really good job. Coach Brian's done a really good job. All the coaches have done a good job blocking the receivers downfield. So I feel like there's a good mix. There's a lot of good things. Obviously, if you can run the ball, it makes a big difference. Especially down in the red zone was the first time we were down there. So there's some things I learned just from the tape, and the angles of blocking and blocking the secondary, and know where the safeties are going to fit. And a lot of times the back's got to be their own blocker on that safety. So there were some teaching moments today that will get cleaned up, tonight and tomorrow.
Is there anything about Casey you've picked up on? I know it's early, but maybe you didn't even know about him. Just traits or stuff you've liked about him?
No, I mean, you could just tell his experience. He's been well coached. Those guys that he had at Texas did a good job with him. He's inquisitive, which is nice, and they may have done it a certain way before that he may fall back into, but I'm fairly open, but he's going through his progressions. He likes it. I like what I see, everything else, and taking a lot of leadership, and did a nice job today in the 2-minute. All the 2 minutes he's done a good job. Today was one for a touchdown, and and he's a little bit more mobile than you think, and just trying to keep working. We haven't worked a whole bunch on scrambles. I think he'll get better as we work a little bit more on the scrambles. Learning the receivers on air, the routes, and then you have to learn what they're like on a scramble drill, where they're moving and learning things that way. So that's an area that we'll certainly harp on when we get back after the following week.
How much can you teach a quarterback in that scenario in terms of when to think about getting out of the pocket, and how much of it is just on him to have that feeling?
The best ones, I've been lucky. I'm not throwing my resume out there, but I just kind of like, when I was at the Pro Bowl, those guys want to be coached. I mean, Peyton wants to be coached. Tom Brady wanted to be coached. Drew, those guys. It's the same thing here. There's always something. There's always something down the road, That can be frustrating for me because if you run one play, you really got to look at it at cover 1, cover 3, cover 6, 6 buzz, quarters, quarter, half, 0 blitz. We don't have the time yet, so their coach is giving us a little bit of things that way. So they're always learning. There's just more to learn in a game. That's the great thing about the game. I don't know it at all, and I've been around it a lot, but there's things I learned. And there's things you learn from the quarterbacks. They're all a little bit different. And I don't call the game the same way for all of them. They'll all have a little bit different game plan of what they feel comfortable with. So it's why we like to have a lot of offense, and then, you pair it down for those guys as they go, rep-wise.
A lot of teams don't go under center. Why do you think it's important to go under center?
I just go back to the old school. I mean, and I think it's hard for a quarterback. We want to recruit quarterbacks, and we're going to tell them we're going to try to help them get in the NFL. And I've seen those guys that haven't gone under center. It's a long, and I see a lot of these high schools that haven't, high school guys. So it's still part of the NFL. Now, not as much as it used to be. You never saw Steve Young go under center. You never saw Joe Montana, but it's part of the run game, especially the back has a chance for a better, more full spectrum run, I guess is what it comes down to. When you have the eye tailback and you're here, it cuts off part of it. So when you get the full spectrum of the zones, I think it helps in their landmarks. And I think it helps when NFL scouts see those guys on the tape.
Hey Mark, what's the outlook to have Chuba back after clean break?
Yeah, he should be fine.
And so how has it impacted your ability to evaluate these guys when one piece of the puzzle hasn't been out there these first 5?
Well, we saw enough that we know he's a good player, and he knows he's a tough guy because he went through all winter condition. He didn't say a word, and I said, "Now look, we can't do that. If you got some problems, issues with your foot or something, let us know so we can take care of it." So, but he's just so hungry to play, and that part is a good thing. I'd rather have that than somebody's always in the training room. But no, he'll be ready to go. And I was tempted. He said, I felt as good as I have. I was tempted when I just saw him in the hallway say, hey, let's get about 8-10 reps. But I'm not going to do that because he's got all the next spring break, and then he'll come back, and we got plenty of time. We're not playing a game until late August, and we'll have time when we come back. And then you got the summer, and then you got fall camp. So there's more than enough time.
Who's the running back who's made the most impressive play so far?
I think all those guys have gotten better. All those guys. The whole group. I think it's a good group. We talked a little bit about them. I don't think one guy's ahead of the other. They got a little bit of different body type. They got a little bit of different things. I think they've gotten a lot better catching the ball. You're always concerned about new guys in protection, so worked hard there. We missed a couple things on third downs the other day where Chin gave us some good looks that we need to see where the backers overlap. So but I think we've got some guys that'll be able to, they're pushing the pile, and I said Coach Donnie's doing a good job up front, and but you got to have a guy who can protect the quarterback in the things that we're doing. Yeah.
We've had a couple of offenses where you had a big back. Where does Jock Ant fit in at this moment?
He's got a little bit of Jerome in him, Not he wasn't as big as Jerome, but no, I mean it's different styles. We're trying to give them all different things, and probably it's more after spring then we'll look at it and that things. And here's the things you do well. Here's the things that you need to work on. But Ramirez done well. Anthony's done well. Cooper, there's guys that have hit things that way. So we just haven't had enough time to go back. I go back and watch the tape, but like you're building a library, it's we're out recruiting. I'll be looking at it in that way. Then we get to summer. Here's the things we need to do and work on that way. And that's what I've been encouraged about is that these kids are looking at the tape. They're seeing it at night. They're coming back. They got good questions. And when they start to get it is when they start having more answers than questions. They know they made a mistake, and we're not at that point right now as an offense. So we're coaching them everything else. As soon as they know, like right away, I know I missed the cut. I saw the things that way. That's when and that just takes time.
I know you're just building the foundation right now, but what's an early read on the receivers? I mean, what you've sort of had.
Yeah, those guys they can all run. They run well. They made some plays. They're getting better after one day of tape and one-on-ones. I saw major improvement. I think we've got to get better at the top of the routes. All right, we got guys that can run and their angles and everything else, and we try to teach the receivers through the quarterback, what they're seeing, the same thing, what they're expecting, and all the things that way. I think that's what I learned in the NFL. It's hey, each guy's a little bit different, and we don't want to take away those, or we don't want cookie cutters, but angles of curl routes or in routes or things at the top. I just saw a major improvement. Stacking on go routes, where staying in the red line. I thought those things, Coach Joseph and Coach Casano have done a really good job. As a quarterback's mentioned today in the meeting, we were watching the one-on-ones, how much better they've gotten on certain things.
Omar Manning is a slot receiver. You're kind of trying him at slot. How's that picture look?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been really good. You know, he'll play outside and inside. So we try to, you know, 1 week we may say, hey, you're an X, you're a Z, letting them play both sides. Because then, you know, we want those guys running hard, so we need depth, and we need, you know, guys to know more than one position.
What's the advantage of putting a guy that size inside?
Well, it's more that he can run. You know, he's big. It's also has something to do with the run game and the blocking. But, I mean, you're getting him on safeties. You're putting him on linebackers where he can bounce and he can get over the top of those guys. And he's been really impressive inside.
Friday scrimmage, what are your priorities? What are you looking for most?
Do a better job with ball security, you know. Like, we'll play it as the first game, as I say. So, like, if it's 3rd and 10 and the first drive, we're not – yeah, I'd like to say we're going to go third and make it, but don't turn the ball over. Don't you know. Hey, we'd like to get a touchdown the first drive, but may not throw it as much or take a chance that way. Is get out of it and play a clean game, play a clean scrimmage, especially early on, and then know when you can take some chances. You know, we want to be aggressive, and however you term aggressive, whether it's in a run game or a pass game, but you want to have a clean game without the ball on the ground is basically what you look for in the first one.
It's obviously an adjustment for all of your quarterbacks, but for the guys that were here when you got here, Logan and Heinrich, how have you sort of seen them pick up the different your style of coaching and the offense in general?
Probably got to ask them. I think sometimes they like me, though. Sometimes they don't understand my humor in that way. But, no, they're great. It's been fun. Like that, as I said, yeah, it's important, and I get upset, but, hey, we got to have some fun. We got to have some laughs. You meet a lot with the guys. We meet with the quarterbacks more than anybody because they're not in special teams. So they've been a really good group, and I've seen them grow. I've seen them relax. You know, we're working on the footwork and the rhythm, you know. And I think one of them asked me the other day, Coach, like, what do you mean rhythm? And I said, well, look at you. You're all uptight. You know, those things you got to get in the flow. Everything else, you got to be a dancer back there. You got to those things. You got to see the pressures. Teaching them to throw into pressures, into man pressures, teach them in zone pressure. What do you mean, those things? So they've been really good, and I said it's been fun to me to see their growth in just a short period of time.